Hey there, Stephanie Joy with all things Social Security and the law practice of Joy Disability. Here's a short little segment from our recent live stream Q&A that we have every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the YouTube channel, All Things Social Security. Enjoy, and if you have any questions, leave them down below in the comments, and I will be sure to get to them. Thanks so much. Bye-bye now. Hey guys, howdy Judy. Let me know you can hear me. Let me know. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom, see if anybody pipes in. I just need to know you guys can hear me. If you could put it in the chat real fast so I don't babble before you do. I see some familiar faces. Nice to see you guys. Thank you, Dimple. I hear you. Thank you, lady. All right. All right. Happy Wednesday, guys. Favorite day of the week. Used to be because it was Happy Hump Day. Hump of the week. Back when I used to hump it to someone else's office. Fortunately, I don't do that anymore. So. All right. So anything exciting this week? Anybody? I'm just going to go down here. I see a new member, T.I. Nice to see you. Nice to meet you. I don't think we've met unless you changed your name, which people do periodically in here. We got Shiloh in the house. Thank you, Shiloh. Valerie's in the house. Nice to see you, Valerie. Stephen Jones. Stephen, have we met? You sound familiar. Mike Page is in the house. I know Mike. Let's see. Dimple, of course. Michelle M is in the house. Hi, Michelle. Mike, you can't hear me? Mike. Now you can hear me. Okay. Maybe you had your sound down. I don't know. But half the time it's my own fault. I'm glad it's all working out well. Okay. So let's hop to it. Anybody? It looks like Shiloh's got maybe a question. So I'm going to pop that in here. I think ALJs are starting already. That can't really be though, right? Because we're snow covered. Shiloh says, by the way, there's a dog in my house right now named Shiloh. She's not mine, but I babysit her with my other zoo because her adopted dad has a job and we want him to be able to go to it. He's a young adult, just trying to get his footing in. So that was going to be a big worry for him, if not because where he lives, they didn't want him to keep her out of the crate. So here she just tears it up with my dogs, even my house the way it is. All right. So Shiloh says 100 P&T. Okay, thank you for your service, Shiloh. Shiloh means 100% disabled with the VA. With PTSD due to MST. I am so sorry about that. Horrible. Shiloh has a high school education, last worked in 2023. I was in customer service, but stopped due to worsening. I worked 15 years at home due to this. Okay, so you're doing customer service from home for 15 years. Can you guide? Well, that's not really enough for me to go on. How old are you, Shiloh? I can give you some possible tips based on the law that would apply. Let you know what the law would apply at your age, which if you don't already know it, but you might actually already know that. And you're welcome, Shiloh. Shiloh says, thank you for all you do. I appreciate that. Thank you guys for all you do, actually. Let's see. Valerie says, good morning. Question for you. So, Shiloh, if you give me more details, I can try to, remember what you just said. Valerie says, good morning, Stephanie. Question for you. Have you heard anything about Social Security going digital March 7th? I don't know what that means, going digital. So you'd have to explain to me what that means, Val. Going digital. I mean, it's a lot digital now. So are you thinking there's like an edition coming out? Which could be. I haven't really been on top of it. I've been majorly into hearings right now, so none of the extra stuff has been going on in great magnitude. Stephen says, similar question as Shiloh, 100% P&T. Thank you for your service, Stephen. Truly true. Seeking help with the VA, but work has become difficult at best. Yeah, so you're still working, but it's getting tougher. Goal is to hang on until I'm 55 and then stop working. I'm 52. Thanks. Yeah, 100% P&T. It depends what it's on, of course. If it's very physical, and depending on what work you're doing now, I mean, there's so many unanswered questions, right? But it is easier at 55 than for 52, granted. From a physical standpoint, from the mental, it's all very difficult. You have to be really almost like you can't negotiate your community by yourself because, and that's being very broad. I know that's not going to cover every single situation, but I'm going to talk with the generality. The severity for mental with no physical problems whatsoever, someone can lift 100 pounds, walk for 6 hours, to be disabled based on mental. And again, I'm saying this as a general kind of rule of thumb, guys, not like there's not exceptions. It is almost like you have to have supervision because you're just not viable going about doing your needed business in the community. It could be banking, waiting, it could be the extent that you can't deal with other people. It's similarly to something like severe agoraphobia, if it's proven. I mean, that's the hard part, is the proof, right? Because nobody in the doctor's office sees the agoraphobia. If you have a telehealth provider, though, of duration. I'm not talking about 3 months. I'm talking about years of being agoraphobic. Since there's a 12-month duration anyway, you can't just go and have a problem that is disabling for 4 months, and there's no reason to think it will continue to be that disabling. So I was getting some dust off my keyboard, which gets so dirty so fast, and it's very new. But anyway, hang in there, Stephen Jones. Or if you want me to take a look at it, you can always shoot us up an eval. And I'll just say your name in there, like just type it in one of the areas you could type, and they'll get it right to me. Okay? Mike Page, good afternoon. So Stephen's question was, it's mental health. Yeah, that's hard. You guys have got to focus. Stephen, I'm going to say this for you. I'm not sure how old Shiloh is. If you're over 50, that's where you get the benefit of the 50 to 54 more lenient rule. It's going to call it that. It's still hard to meet. You have to prove that you can't do light work. It's okay if you can do sedentary work, but you have to not be able to do light work. And that's all physical reasons. So light work, remember, is being on your feet 6 out of 8 hours, generally speaking, and lifting up to 20 pounds, at least occasionally throughout the day, which is 1/3 of the day, 2-3 hours a day, up to 20 pounds, more than a couple gallons of milk at one time. So I would really, really suggest you and anybody else who's over 50 really take a good, and I was just working on this, trying to get like approval ideas and stuff like that on the simplest of forms, because I mean, I have it with my clients too, where a new client or a potential new client isn't really looking at all their physical stuff because they're honed in on that PTSD, or they're honed in on the anxiety, if they have a severe anxiety disorder as they see it, and they're 50 something. And I'm like, come on, I'm 50 something. Now, granted, I'm in the uppers, but I'm like, come on, you have to have, your body can't be like it was when it was 20. Let's get to that. And some people resist. They're like, for goodness sake, the reason I can't work is because I'm like, I get it. I don't really care. I'm talking about meeting the SSD rules. That's my job for you. So my clients are going to be seeing this soon. They're probably going to hate me, but it's my job. I don't care if they hate me. And it's super easy. It's not even complicated. We have a body chart right now, and it's really annoying for them and for us. So I think this might be a little bit better in the initial, to keep them focused on, and very simple. Like they don't have to like do a lot of explanation, because I think when you give people a space to explain, and they've been living with this really, really, really troublesome condition for a long time, they want to go off. They want to say a lot. So totally understandable. So this might rein it in a little bit more, so that the things that we need to do with it do not take us more time than we need to get to the crux that we need for the legalities of it. Not to say the other stuff is invaluable for other reasons, but anyway, I'll share that too. If anybody wants it to help look at, I share the old body chart with people all the time, but this is going to be a little bit more concise stuff. And so it's getting worked on right now. I expected this afternoon. I mean, it was something that I've been bugging about. So it's like this morning, I'm just like, come on, I can't stand this. I need this tightened up a little bit. So we hashed that out, and it was pretty good. So I want you guys to focus on never stop taking care of your mental. Now it's time for your case to focus on that pinky finger that has trigger finger, or your thumb. And as I always say, you guys have heard me say it many, many times, go through all the body parts. That's why a body chart is very, very helpful. And which body parts are not as strong, fast, comfortable, and durable, strong, did I say strong, as it was when you were 20. People don't think of it. They're like, well, I'm 45 or I'm 55. So of course it's not going to be. I'm like, then why didn't you put it down? Well, it's not a disability. I wasn't hurt from the accident. I'm like, so SSA doesn't care where you get your injury from. It doesn't have to be from a car accident. It doesn't have to be from a work-related injury. Age degeneration can be your friend in this scenario. I hate it otherwise. And I have a lot of aches and pains right now. So I could say that with some assurity, because I woke up the other day. I got up a little earlier than I was going to, only a little bit. I was awake, and I was doing my morning, getting my head on, and I heard the dogs downstairs. I'm like, I don't know, tell me they didn't get into something. Like someone left the gate or something. And I moved. I felt a little twingy in my lower, that's my right side, right? My lower right backside, like literally almost down by my tailbone, maybe a little higher. And by the time I got out of bed and was trying to make my way down the stairs, I'm like, oh no. This happens every few years. It's very infrequent. That's why I say I don't have a back rub. And blessedly, I learned 20 years ago pop forward ibuprofen and don't move. Get in your recliner and it will slowly, it takes days to get over the whole thing, but it'll get me where I can move about gently and get done what I need to get done. So, and then every day it becomes a little less and it's just more of a tightness that's starting to loosen up. It's very strange. But anyway, I digress. But those things are really important for those of you that have it chronically, which I don't obviously, but if I did, that would be definitely something to think about. By the way, Tosh is over here, but she's sleeping. I gave her she wanted a cookie and I gave it to her. And you know how sugar makes you have a second of energy and then, so she's in the, right Tosh? So she scooches over from this end to the other end because the heater, the little thing at the bottom of the wall is there and she's right next to the wall now. So I think that's why she does it. It keeps her extra warm. Okay, so guys, focus on those physical things. Go through the body parts and imagine every body part when you were 20 compared to now. Imagine work. And another thing, imagine using it all day long. 8-hour day with a 15-minute break, half-hour lunch, 15-minute break in the afternoon. Can you do that 8 hours with those breaks? If not, then that body part is not as good as it was when you were 20. That is the general way to look at it. That's how I do it, and that's where I get my nagging influence on my clients, but that's how we get our rates. That's how we get it to happen. Okay. Stephen Jones, never met. I have a memorable name. You have a very nice name. Same initials. Ona, on a journey. I'll say Ona is in the house. I made it to another live stream. Glad to see you back again. Oh, Michelle, you're not working. Good. You're a trooper, my girl. Christina's in the house. Hi, Christina. Good to see you. Temple says, I think it would be easier for me to fill out a body chart for what doesn't hurt. That's great, except eventually everything's going to have to be explained. So you may as well stick to the ones that hurt. But it's nice if you can just like check them off, not have to go and describe a lot of stuff at the present time. Because remember, what is going to be good narrative is only what's going to be, not that we don't have the function report for a little explanation too, but it's what's in the medical records that's going to pretty much define the case. The medical records are the foundation of the evidence as a matter of law. And so, as we always say, the function report, as important as it is to get it done right so you don't sink your ship, and it can also help support a win later, at the lower levels, it's really more of a, in my opinion. Can we deny based on some of these answers? Do any of them conflict with what the claim said and what the medical evidence says that we have? So you have to be really careful not to misword something in a way that could be misinterpreted. Danny says, I could write 500 pages of stuff, SOJ. I'm SOJ, obviously. Yes, I know you could, Danny. I'm well aware. And nobody wants to read it because people only want to get to the nit and gritty. Life is busy. People have caseloads. The adjudicator has probably a ton. So what you want to do is be able to focus on the parts that are going to make the difference for your case. If you get them lost in some weeds about you're venting about something else that isn't vocationally strong in terms of the legalities, you just diverted their attention away from what does on their limited time. So that's why I think it's really important to focus, which I don't want you to confuse with, and lawyers all have different ideas on this. I know me and Jonathan have different ideas on this. And when you talk about your impairments, do you include big and small? I do. I don't include a hangnail. That would be a joke. But I know like some lawyers would prefer to just put the 3 or 4 biggest things and then leave everything else alone. It'll come out in the wash with the medical records, which it should. I feel a little bit differently like that. Like, let's say they have a really bad cervical spine, really bad lumbar, they have severe migraines, and they're missing a hand. That would be 4 things. They're pretty major. Doesn't mean they're going to win. And no, a missing hand doesn't make you win. Let's say they also have really bad ankles, have had ankle surgery, maybe heel spurs. I'm going to put down foot problems. Now, I will keep it kind of sometimes general. Like someone was saying on one of the posts, an adjudicator was in there, and I really wanted him or her to come on. We could do a pre-recorded on things that he knows people would want to discuss. Doesn't have to be live where he's put on the spot. I really, if any adjudicator again is paying attention, and I did offer it. I don't think that he responded, but that would be great. Even if, or a field office person, like they could talk about something that they know people are interested in, and it would be their little platform of sorts. But he said when people don't put all of their specific, like keep it vague, knee problem, and they don't say right or left knee, then we have to figure out which one it is before we get x-rays. And I'm like, part of me was like, I didn't get a chance to talk to him because I don't think he responded. But my thought is, but by the time you're ordering a consultative exam and x-rays, you've already gotten the records. And the reason why this isn't universal for me, but there are many times where I keep it knee or knees. Probably knees is probably the smarter thing when in doubt, because sometimes it's not clear from what the client put, and we're actually pumping it out the door. And sometimes clients will say it's very rare that they have two perfect knees if they have one bad one. It really isn't, particularly when they're over the age, like I said, of 40, 50. So when they were going to say just one knee, now they are, it's not that they're barred from it coming up later, but it's going to be minimized. And say they didn't even claim it on their thing. So how bad can it really be? Well, the better knee, which they didn't mention because it's the better knee, that also can prevent walking for 6 hours a day. It can certainly add to the really bad one. You don't even have a really good one to limp along with. So for this reason, I do not like to minimize unless I have reason to believe they have a bionic knee on the other side. No, I do not like to cut that road off early and make that impression early, because that is what the evidence building is supposed to do. That's going to define it. So I don't want to predefine it and then also have them pigeonholed into they never mention it in their application. I've seen adjudicators, even ALJs, mention it when they downplay something later because it wasn't put in there. Now, that's not to say that people that do the 1 to 4 impairments and different, that really wouldn't affect that so much. I'm really talking about when it's one knee or two, or one elbow or two, or both hands with carpal tunnel versus the one they're talking about that's really bad is the one that's with their strong hand. And they think about it more because that's the one they write with. But the other one is not available 100% either. So because if a job exists where all you need is one good arm, one good hand, we didn't disprove now that they can't do that. We certainly didn't allege it because we never mentioned that she had a problem with the other hand. Oh, she does. She has carpal tunnel that would restrict her to not being able to do constant handwork with that other arm, maybe just frequent. Well, if that it eliminates, that's the way you can eliminate all the jobs that require constant use of the hands, or that hand, or at least one hand, because now she can't do constant with either hand. So there's all the, I know that sounds a little confusing, guys, but that's why I don't do that. Christina is giving a nice big reminder here. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. I'm getting better with reading those out loud, right, Christina? I used to be very shy about that, and then people were reading me the Bride Act. Adam's in the house. Nice to see you, Adam. Christina also says, Christina should just, she should be paid for this. Share the live stream. It helps the channel. That's probably true. Kevin Johnson's here from Tennessee. Kevin is one of the big winners of the last recent times, right, Kevin? And I don't say that in jest, guys. He's just prevailed, so very happy for him. And I better be right about that, or else I just made an arse of myself. Yeah, Michelle, I don't think I saw your question. Let me see. I'm going to scroll up, Michelle, because goodness knows I could have. Nope, no question there. Michelle, you told me when you could hear me. You told me you're not working, which I kind of figured if you're here, you're not working. But I don't see any. No, Michelle, only the one. Can you see it when you scroll up, Michelle? Anyway, Michelle put it down. I think she repeated it. That's good. And by the way, we're low on questions here, guys. So if you have questions, any of you people that aren't commenting, please feel free to ask a question, right? Michelle says, when in the initial phase of application, I know that working SGA will disqualify you. What about the trial work, which is a smaller amount? Okay, trial work is fine in terms of being able to prevail on your case, right? It will use up your trial work for the things that come after you've prevailed. So you can do it. It's fine. And you can still win your case. It should have no bearing any more than any other work is. They're going to be still, be considering all your medicals and if you're disabled. So it's totally fine in my opinion. When you're done and you prevail, they are going to be looking back. They have to do this calculation automatically to find out, okay, she's prevailed. How many trial work months, if any, does this person have? So after she applied, and onset after that, how many months did she work TWP or more? And if there are 9 in the 5-year period, which presumably it's going to be within the 5-year period, that whole range we just talked about, let's say it's 5, but then you're continuing to do it forever after, you're going to hit your 9 months. You will be out of your trial work period, which is fine as long as you never go over SGA. If you go over SGA, as soon as you hit your trial, so we're going to have a little lesson here on trial work period, guys. The moment you hit your 9th month, they don't have to be consecutive, here, there, and everywhere. 9th month of earning over TWP, which is somewhere in the $1,100 range, you are no longer enjoying a trial work period. Trial work period has some protections in that they can't use your work and look at it to decide that you aren't disabled like you said you were. So the trial work period protects you in that way because you're trialing something. You're trying to see if you can do more vigorous stuff. All right. So that protection is over, but they found you disabled despite knowing about that work. So once the month after your trial work period ends, you're in your EPE, extended period of eligibility. All right. It's a 3-year period, 36 months, and that doesn't change. Any month that you accidentally hit SGA or intentionally, you owe that money back to you owe your Social Security disability check for that month back to the SSA. Now, they're not going to figure it out for many months later, so sometimes you owe them a crap load. You're not permanently off disability yet. You could be CDR'd for the work, of course. They're going to look to see if you're still disabled, even though you popped over SGA and had to send some back and da-da-da-da. For those 3 years, that's how that works. So I always say, just don't go over SGA. Just don't go over SGA. Because you're going to have to pay the money back, and it's just red flags. All right. And SGA won't necessarily get you kicked off of it because it could be unsustained, you know? And they look at everything to see if your medical still would be like, no, she's still not able to do full-time work. She just was able to kick it up here and there a couple months. Okay, great. Once the 3 years is over, first time you do SGA, you boot it off of Social Security disability. Because your extended period of eligibility, which means you can go, I get the money this month, not this month, you know, I have to pay back these, that's over. And the first time you work SGA, you will be ceased. And then if you continue to work SGA, so be it, great. Maybe you're back in the workforce, awesome. If you find that you suddenly lost that job or can't do that job went away, you can ask for expedited reinstatement. And this is because the only reason you lost the disability was because you earned too much and went SGA once you were out of your extended period of eligibility. So it was the money reasons, not a medical reason, not a medical improvement. Then you could do the reinstatement as long as it's within 5 years. Expedited reinstatement. It's not really that fast, but anyway, it's different than it's in theory different than full-blown new application. If you have to do full-blown, you could still do that too. You can reapply, but if you have the benefit of expedited reinstatement, I would take it. Okay, because they know to look at it a little differently. You've already been determined to be disabled. You made a little bit too much, whatever. Okay, how's that little lesson on TWP and EPE and all that? All righty. Let me go back up. Where were we? All right. I hope that helped, Michelle. There are plenty of videos, by the way, guys, on child work period. I say plenty. There's a handful. Child work period, SGA, all that business. Kimball says, I've been focusing on my dominant hand due to the RA, but lately I've realized that the left shoulder is limiting as much or more on the right hand. Follow up with it. Orthopedics, you know what I say. But that's what I'm talking about. When you start thinking about it, you're like, oh yeah, that's not perfect either. David says, what are the chances of losing SSDI at age 64? Well, I can give you an example of when you're definitely going to lose SSDI at 64 if you start working SGA. And if you earn SGA more than 6 months or hit 6 months, for sure you're going to lose it because now you're no longer disabled. If you hand them the platter of, hey, SSA, I'm no longer disabled because I'm clearly able to earn SGA because I just did it for 6 months, you've just basically, cause yourself to lose your SSD. So the work is the big thing. If you're just talking about the chances otherwise, I would say it's not great unless you're doing something and someone turns you in, like you're working under the table 40 hours a week. It's not showing up, those things have happened. We've actually reported on the Fraud Law Review about it. And it was someone in their 60s. And I think they had recovered from cancer years prior. And they kept saying they were still disabled. And I don't know how they had the medical records to substantiate it unless someone wasn't paying attention. I forget if he bought a business. I forget what kind of work it was, but eventually, and he lied about it, that he was doing it. Continued getting benefits while working, I guess, full-time or whatever. And he got prosecuted. I believe he got prosecuted, and of course, he lost his benefits, and he has a implicated. But he was prosecuted not because he erred and forgot. It's because he actually affirmatively lied on future paperwork. CDRs, are you working? No. I mean, so I don't ever want people to be super afraid of making a mistake and feeling like they have to tiptoe all the time. It's when these things are deliberate fraud. It's not looking for people and trying to entrap them or whatever, you know what I mean?